Oh, my goodness. The 49ers didn't even play, yet they finished Sunday with the best record in the NFL. The Buffalo Bills have gone down. The final undefeated is no more. New England with Drake May walks into Highmark Stadium in the final year of that great venue in Buffalo and beats the Bills 23-20. So to recap, we saw the Eagles lose in the early window, and that ensured that the 49ers would have the best record in the NFC. Then we saw a couple division rivals felled by former 49ers kickers. We saw both the Seahawks and the Cardinals lose, and that was absolutely wild. We're going to get to the way that Arizona lost here in a second because we didn't have a chance to talk about that earlier. I was doing a Sunset Live talking about that. Amari DeMarcado's fumble and then the touchdown that Tennessee scored to bring that to within one score was absolutely wild. And then to cap the night, the Buffalo Bills lose 23-20. Bench Josh Allen now. He threw an interception, 3 turnovers for the Bills. In case you guys didn't know, I'm being sarcastic. But yes, Josh Allen throws interceptions too. Buffalo loses this game 23-20. And you know what I have to say? Respect the graph. Look where Drake May is on this graph. On the top right, Drake, this is before the win, by the way. But through the first few weeks, Drake May was in a spot where the best quarterbacks in the game are. Where we've seen Brock Purdy before. Purdy, okay, this year. He's in the upper right, but he's not in the extreme upper right. That's where Drake May is. And today he went toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. You know, I think the Bills are missing some receiving weapons. It's ironic. They could really use Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs now with the New England Patriots. 10 catches, 146 yards. It sounds a whole lot like Kendrick Bourne's final line from the other night. 10 for 142. Diggs, 10 for 146. He was teammates with Kendrick Bourne up until a few weeks ago with the New England Patriots. Anyway, wild day. I told you we'd talk about that Arizona-Tennessee game, and this is crazy. This was out on social media. The top play did not result in an Arizona touchdown. The play on the bottom resulted in a Tennessee touchdown. So that's how Arizona lost today. That's how Arizona wet the bed in the NFC West. Seattle did it in a different way, but against the better Tampa Bay team. The Titans are one of the worst teams in all of football, but Amari DeMarcado on a 3rd and 1 blasted his way to what should have been a 50-plus yard touchdown run until he decided to drop the ball before he crossed the goal line. And then this second play was absolutely insane. It's at the bottom. You could see the score is 21-12. Arizona is ahead over the Tennessee Titans. Cam Ward had a football deflected that was intercepted, as you can see here, by the Cardinals. But they fumbled. The ball got kicked into the end zone, and the Titans fell on it to win to pull within a score, and then they won the football game. When their kicker, who happens to be a former 49er, Joey Sly, delivered. Here you go on the kicker narrative from today. At left is Joey Sly, who backed up for Robbie Gould back in 2020 or 2021, I think. Yeah, 2021, Joey Sly backed up for Robbie Gould because that's when the 49ers wore the 94 throwbacks for the first time in that 21 season. At least with the red tops, they wore those in 21. On the right, you see Chase McLaughlin, who won the game today for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Seattle Seahawks. So Sly delivered for the Tennessee Titans against the Cardinals, McLaughlin for the Seahawks. If we want to go and look at the NFL standings now, we could do that as well. That should be a fun exercise just to see where the 49ers are compared to everyone else. Here you go. Buffalo has now lost. They're 4-1. Indianapolis is a 4-1 team. There are 2 of those in the AFC. In the NFC, you've got the Philadelphia Eagles, the Detroit Lions, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the San Francisco 49ers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 4-1 teams in the NFL. The 49ers are one of those 6. Now, I think it's indisputable that next week, the game of the week in the NFL pits San Francisco against Tampa Bay. 2 4-1 teams trying to go for some NFC record supremacy, although Philadelphia and Detroit still have a lot to say about NFC supremacy, and other teams are going to have that claim as well. It's still relatively early in the season, but we can have our fun right now talking about all of this. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are currently 2.5-point favorites for their game against the 49ers, which is coming up next Sunday. Good thing that the NFL flexed this not into prime time, but into the 4:25 p.m. Eastern time, 1:25 p.m. Pacific time slot. So I'm glad it's not in prime time. I'll tell you what, one of the hardest things to do is to cover a primetime game on the East Coast because it doesn't start till 8:20 p.m. on the East Coast. So you're not done until midnight. And you're in the locker room at 1 a.m. sometimes, especially if the game runs a little bit long. And then you're writing an article and it's all bad. So, I prefer to start early, but sometimes you could also have jet lag when you fly to the East Coast. So that can't be great. I think where the 49ers and Tampa Bay are starting, 4:25 Eastern, 1:25 Pacific next week is just right. And the NFL had to decide to flex this thing before this week, and it looks like they made the right call since both San Francisco and Tampa Bay did win. Tampa Bay, 2.5-point favorites. Remember that I think the 49ers will probably start Mac Jones in this game. I think that's the way that things are trending because Brock Purdy missed 2 weeks after the initial toe injury against Seattle. I would think that even if he's feeling better right now, the 49ers have earned the right to slow play this. Unless they lose that right if Mac Jones gets hurt. That's what happened in week 4. Jones was more hurt than Purdy, so Brock had to go out there. Brock took one for the team. Unfortunately, Brock felt worse after that game, but didn't feel as bad as he did after week 1. Still, if the 49ers have their druthers, they'd rather get Purdy as close as possible to full health instead of having to run him back out there prematurely. There's a reason why it's extremely valuable to have 2 competent quarterbacks in the NFL, and I think the 49ers have laid claim to having the best quarterback situation in the entire NFL. This Buffalo game was wild. I'm going to go back to this right here, a look at the quarterback situation in the league right now. The Mac Jones is above if you go y-axis, that's efficiency. So Josh Allen and Jordan Love entered this weekend as the most efficient quarterbacks in the NFL. Purdy, as you can see, more efficient and more accurate than Mac Jones. Purdy actually not too far from where Matthew Stafford is here, but we get to see Patrick Mahomes against Jacksonville tomorrow. More on that in a little bit. But when you look at this, and it's really starting to crystallize who's playing good football and who isn't in this season. Drake May is in that upper right. And I think that just in his second year coming out of North Carolina, I think this is shocking a lot of people. But Mike Vrabel, he had the Titans fighting for years, overachieving, I would say. And maybe he's got the New England Patriots overachieving to begin this 2025 season. The 49ers on this quarterback graph, if Mac Jones continues to play well and he stays above this x-axis line, that's great for your backup. But I think, the 49ers, as they return weapons, maybe Mac Jones could be more efficient than Patrick Mahomes. Tomorrow, Mahomes has to play the Jacksonville defense. For that, why don't we go to the team tier chart? Now, this is before Sunday Night Football. So once the Bills game is accounted for, maybe they fall down a tier offensively. They only scored 20 points tonight. The New England Patriots, not a bad team. They're in the same tier as the 49ers, as you can see here. Worse defense. They've been a better offense so far than San Francisco. But Kansas City tomorrow night, I'm really, really excited to see this game because, as you can see, the Chiefs are here in that tier 3. Look who else is in tier 3 up here, Jacksonville. Jacksonville with a much better defense but worse offense than Kansas City. And Jacksonville's at home. And you know that Brock Purdy and the 49ers offense, they took a lot of heat for the performance against Jacksonville, but they still moved the ball against the Jags. I talked to a few players in the 49ers locker room, and they said that they thought that Jacksonville's defensive front was actually better than the Rams' defensive front. This was after the Rams game, when that game was still fresh in their minds at SoFi Stadium. Obviously, the edge rushers are awesome for Jacksonville, with Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen. And then you've got Eric Armstead on top of that. And I think all 49ers fans should know how good of a player Eric Armstead is. Well, good luck, Kansas City. You get to face those guys on the road tomorrow. And I think this should give people a lot of perspective as to what the 49ers with Brock Purdy not 100% faced against Jacksonville when we see Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. And I predict there's going to be some struggles against that Jacksonville defense at home. I think they're fired up for this football game. This is a chance for Jacksonville to truly announce their status as contenders because, they did put up an impressive performance with the 4 takeaways against the 49ers, but Purdy wasn't 100%. The game was played on a Sunday, not in prime time, against Mahomes and the Chiefs with a chance to move to 4-1 themselves. I think that this is a really, really big game for the Jags tomorrow. So I think that 49ers fans should watch this with great interest just to see how a common opponent, or it's not Jacksonville's the common opponent, to see how they compare with the Chiefs through a common opponent being Jacksonville in back-to-back weeks. As far as San Francisco goes and Tampa Bay, look, Tampa Bay is now this right here, Tampa Bay did not play good defense today. It's funny because the 49ers had a much better defensive performance against Seattle in week 1. So there's obviously one-off, 1-week situations that always happens in the National Football League. But Tampa Bay had been playing better defense than the 49ers with the offense about the same. The 49ers need to get healthy. That is why they are where they are. But as you can see, it is downright miraculous that San Francisco is 4-1 given the efficiency index right now. They are a 4th-tier team by efficiency. Special teams also below average on top of this for the 49ers. So even without a single rushing touchdown, and even though they're averaging 40.4 throws per game, the 49ers have the best record in the NFL. If you're not grasping how wild this is, I don't know what to tell you. They also don't have an interception yet. The 49ers are the first team since at least 1940 to not have an interception and not have a rushing touchdown through the first 5 weeks of the season. They may be the first team ever. I mean, I think before 1940, teams were running a whole lot more. So there's a good chance the 49ers are the first team ever in NFL history to not have a rushing touchdown and to not have an interception through 5 games. Yet they still have the best record in the NFL. I just want to make it very clear to you that what you have seen over the course of the first 5 weeks this season has been special with a capital S. I'm here to tell the story of the 49ers within the context of the NFL to you. And what you are witnessing has been, we can even argue it's a great Moneyball run for the 49ers. They've found a way to squeeze efficiency out of the high leverage moments at a rate that is highly statistically improbable. Obviously not impossible because the 49ers have done it. In fact, you could also even argue that they're one play away from being 5-0. How did that happen? And they could be 5-0 without a rushing touchdown and an interception. They didn't need one of those two things to go their way against Jacksonville to reverse that result. Maybe they only needed a Kendrick Bourne catch. Of course, they had an interception wiped away by the officials against the Jags. But still, the fact that the 49ers are doing what they're doing in the position that they're in is absolutely insane. And we'll see if their luck can continue. And I wouldn't say that they've had a lot of luck either in some of these situations. I mean, they've been able to overcome. They've had resilience probably more than luck because they have been making some wild plays. If there's one that stands out to me from the Rams game that broke in a very lucky fashion for the 49ers, it was the dropped pitch that happened in the first half when Matthew Stafford tried to pitch back to Blake Corum. But remember that the 49ers didn't even score off of that turnover. That's Kendrick Bourne dropped the third down pass. That was his worst play of the game coming off that turnover. So it was the one that they made, the takeaway that they made themselves with Alfred Collins' mighty punch out. That was actually the one that was more impactful. And that was obviously something that the 49ers had a direct role in. So what we've seen so far through this year should give you, if you're a 49ers fan, some real hope, some real eyebrow-raising intrigue, because what this team is doing is showing that they can win in ways that not only last year's team was not able to win in, but most NFL teams are unable to overcome some of the situations the 49ers have been in. In fact, San Francisco had a 2% win probability based on the analytics in their game against the Los Angeles Rams on Thursday. I mean, the Rams went out there and they were much more efficient on a per play basis. They outgained the 49ers. They, in that game, controlled, I thought, the line of scrimmage based on pressures and based on what they're able to output on the ground versus what San Francisco was able to do. But the 49ers had a very narrow path to victory, like very narrow, and they executed it while the Rams went on a checklist of how to blow a game against an overmatched team. But it doesn't happen unless the 49ers execute their version of the game plan, which was hogging the football, putting the pressure on the Rams to make some of the mistakes they make, then get the job done. I think something similar happened a couple of weeks before against the Arizona Cardinals, and I think it's really worth noting that the 49ers outgained Jacksonville and saw their offense and defense actually outscore Jacksonville, but only to see their special teams on the punt return lose that football game. So special things happening for the 49ers as they enter the Tampa Bay game. The NFL is the 49ers at number 2. Why is that? Are you looking at some kind of schedule ranking or record ranking? It might be because of some kind of tiebreaker. It doesn't really matter because you only go ties against your own conference. There are 6 4-1 teams right now, and the 49ers are one of the 6. I'm mainly talking about this just for the entertainment of the fans. We're about to enter week 6. It doesn't really matter who's one loss and that. It does in terms of the standings, but a lot of this is just like a bragging rights thing. And I know that you guys enjoy it. And I know you guys like content, and it's Sunday evening. And I thought that I'd give you some good content here on YouTube. So don't worry too much about the 49ers being ranked behind somebody in some automated schedule populator up online. So it is a good question, though. Just don't worry about it. Good evening to everybody joining the show right now. We've got almost 1,000 viewers, and we're only 17 minutes in on a beautiful Sunday. I want to look at some of the standings again while I wait for some good questions. Washington today, they beat the Chargers. And the Chargers, they got off to that hot start, but they're 3-2. Denver now is making a move with the big win over Philadelphia in the AFC West. I mean, both Western divisions have 3 very strong teams at the top. The Chargers, Denver, and Kansas City in the AFC, and then the 49ers, Seattle, and the Rams in the NFC. Arizona, I'm not too sure about those guys. I think I have a funny meme to show you about Arizona. Stephon Diggs, by the way, when asked if this game was personal, 100%. Mike, should I play some of these videos that you sent me? Let me know. I don't want to play anything you don't want me to play. But Mike is sending me content, and I need to know if it's acceptable to play or not. I also have very, very good content for you regarding the NFC West. So, we're talking about the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams being really good football teams. Then you have another team in the division, the Arizona Cardinals. You are in the division, but we do not grant you the rank of rival. Say the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Rams. The Cardinals, they think it's unfair, but when you lose to Joey Sly on the left, and when this happens to you during a game on the right, I mean, and they did that to themselves with Amari DeMarcado, and then somehow on the bottom they didn't secure the interception to seal the game. Instead, that turned into the biggest touchdown of the game for Tennessee. When that happens, yeah, you're not granted the rank of rival in the division. What's Mike have to say? Let's look. Oh my goodness. So Mike, can I use this? Let me know. You got to give me a yes or no. I can't make these decisions while I'm live. I'm saving it. I'm getting ready to use it, but I'm waiting for you. I know it's a photo. Can I use it? Okay, thanks. All right, we could use it, and we're getting it ready. It looks like it was before the game because I still see some light outside, or was it? No, maybe it was after. I don't know, but it's Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen. A very funny photo. A side eye from Stephon Diggs. So Buffalo can really use a wide receiver right now. You could see there's a chink in armor there. It's not a perfect team. I think they are short a wideout. I was joking they should cut Josh Allen after he threw that interception. The Patriots posted this after the game on Twitter. That's the best part of this. Mike just sent me that. The Pats posted that after the game on Twitter, like the official team account did. Crazy, crazy stuff. The excitement index. How, based on win probability, swings, and total points. So the two most exciting games of this week were or involved teams that are going to face off in Tampa a week from now on Sunday. Take a look at this. The excitement index. This is also really good. Oops. Oh, we lost that. Hold on. There you go. That's the excitement index. So at the very top, the 38-35 game, probably because it was a little higher scoring than what we saw down at SoFi. Tampa against Seattle. Number 2, the 49ers and the Rams. The most boring game of the week, so you could see down at the very bottom, we have the Raiders against the Colts. Sad. That's unbelievable how bad the Raiders are. By the way, it might be hard to believe how bad Baltimore is, but I could believe it with how bad that defense has gotten. They lost Mike McDonald, and that defense has just tumbled downhill for the Ravens. They have not been an above average unit since McDonald took the head coaching job of the Seattle Seahawks. Cowboys and Jets, 37-22 in Dallas's favor. Jets are the only winless team left in the league at 0-5. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow morning. The Bengals and the Lions. This game was not as close as this score indicates. The Lions just killed them, and they put up 37 points. Never good in the NFL. I think the Bengals are getting closer and closer to a spot where they have to seriously discuss trading Trey Hendrickson. The problem is that they're only a game out of the division lead right now from the Pittsburgh Steelers, but it's a lot of fool's gold for the Cincinnati Bengals. When I talk about how bad Tennessee is down here, look where Cincinnati is. And their defense was even worse today. That is with Trey Hendrickson out there. They're just not equipped to be a good team this year. Joe Burrow, I get it. He's going to be out for a while. That's the first thing that had us thinking like this. But then you just go to the fact that they've been leaking oil defensively. They didn't get Trey Hendrickson signed to a long-term deal. I think it's going to make a lot of sense for Cincinnati to ship him away. And, of course, it would make a lot of sense for the 49ers to bring a player of his caliber in. Now, the Bengals still are only 2-3 right now, okay? They're still only 2-3. They're still only a game back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But what I will say is that they play the Green Bay Packers next week, and the Packers are 14.5-point favorites against Cincinnati because Green Bay is a tier 2 team, maybe even tier 1 after Buffalo comes back down to earth here a little bit. And Cincinnati is a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, tier 7 team. It's tier 2 against tier 7 happening next week. That's why Green Bay is a 14.5-point favorite. And then the following Thursday, the Steelers play the Bengals. And it's going to be hard to convince me that Cincinnati is not going to win that game. That Pittsburgh is not going to win that game. I'll take Aaron Rodgers over Jake Browning any day. It comes down to that and the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals just aren't playing defense. Anyway, if the Bengals lose their next two, then you're looking at 2-5. And then they've got the Jets who are 0-5. But if the Bengals are as bad as the efficiency markers suggest they are, the Jets are a full 2 tiers above them despite being 0-5. The Jets can deal the finishing blow to Cincinnati on October 26th, which is still over a week ahead of the trade deadline. And remember that somebody like Trey Hendrickson is getting cheaper every single week, about $1 million cheaper every single week because his salary is prorated. And I think it'd make a lot more sense for the 49ers to make an acquisition like that later in October than earlier. So just a matter of when these teams get into sell mode. And we're going to cover everything about this trade deadline. You know, I was talking a lot about Jeffrey Simmons on Twitter earlier. Tennessee is still terrible. Yes, they won. Do I think that should change their approach to potentially selling off a veteran for assets like Jeffrey Simmons? Well, if they're decently smart, then no. I think Tennessee should probably realize that you won this game because of a fluke play. This one right here. This turned into a Titans touchdown, this play right here. Like you're not winning this game without an absolute fluke happening. So I if I'm Tennessee and their front office, I'm still trying to collect some assets for the future. But, you know, nobody's ever accused bad organizations of making smart decisions. So I guess that we have to wait up on that. Best record in the NFL for the 49ers. We have arguments about the 49ers. The Niners being 4-1 is on the players, not the coach. I think it's on both. And you've got to have everybody pulling weight to be 4-1, especially given all the losses that the 49ers have had. '49ers have a better conference record than the Eagles, which is number 2 in the tiebreaker rules. Why are they number 2 in the conference? Well, maybe division record comes first. Let me look. Let's look at the standings. It really doesn't matter at this point. I really appreciate the super chat and the question, so thank you. We're really splitting hairs. Let's go to the conference standings. No, they're ranked ahead of Philadelphia in the conference, man. Look, they're number 1. So thanks for the question, but good news for everybody is that San Francisco is ranked at the top of the NFC because they don't have a head-to-head against the Eagles. They are number 1 in their division, obviously, and they're 4-0 in the conference, and Philadelphia is 3-0. The 49ers have a lower strength of victory and a lower strength of schedule than Philadelphia, but that doesn't come into account before the conference record, which is 4-0 for the 49ers. So they're also +8 overall net points down here. That means point differential. They're +8. Philadelphia is +16. The best point differential in the NFC right now are the Detroit Lions at 4-1. So I know that's not a tiebreaker, but it's a way of saying Detroit has been the best team, I would say, in the NFC so far. But, you know, Seattle's +41 and the 49ers beat Seattle on the road. So it's not like that's the be all end all either. Either way, there's still a lot of football to be played. A lot of this is just fan talk, right? I want to give you guys what you want to hear. The 49ers, in the course of one day, went to best record in the NFC, gained a ton of ground above the NFC West, which was already trailing them, and became the best record in the NFL, one of 6 4-1 football teams. Will Kittle play next weekend? It's a long shot. Probably back for Atlanta in week 7. Niners enjoying this while it lasts. Maybe it's going to last a long time. The crazy thing is that the 49ers are where they're at right now with severe injuries. Like, they have the most money on injured reserve out of any team in the NFL. They played the healthiest team in the NFL, a good team, I think, in the Rams, and they beat them on Thursday. So, yeah, you could say enjoying it while it lasts, but you also have to acknowledge that it might last for quite some time if the 49ers do indeed start getting some of their guys back, which should actually begin against Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay, they're not fully healthy right now either. Bucky Irving, Mike Evans down. So we'll see. Is it really going to be 85 plus at Tampa? I wouldn't be surprised. It is October, early October in Florida. It was hot there last year in November. You know where Mac is from, though? Mac Jones is from Jacksonville. And Jacksonville has a similar weather to Tampa Bay. So I don't think that Mac is somebody who's going to be all too foreign to the climate that the 49ers have. I agree. It's probably likely that Mac Jones starts against the Buccaneers. Purdy is undefeated against the Bucs with a 140 passer rate. He was awesome last year. He was awesome the year before. He was awesome in 2022. He's played 3 games against them, but if he's not healthy and Mac Jones is healthier, I think it's obvious which way the 49ers are going to go on Sunday. All right, guys, it's been a lot of fun. 49ers have the best record in the NFL. Let's get this week off to a good start tomorrow. We'll talk to you in the morning.